Rodimer, and I'm the director at Udary Creamery. Right now, I teach fully one course in the fall that's called it's ANFS 181. It's the Science and Business of Ice Cream. And then in the spring, I co-teach a course that's called the Basics of Cheese Making. I think the biggest advantage I have is the hands-on knowledge. So, really learning the business from the ground up. So I started as a student, never thought I'd be in this role today. I think my parents thought I was crazy when I told them I was going to graduate and run an ice cream truck for a while. But I've really learned kind of the ins and outs of just running the business. So that's the business component that we talk about in my science and business of ice cream course, and then the hands-on part of the cheese making. I've always enjoyed just I feel like the creamery vision is so much hands-on, just even from our employment status. Even though it is scooping ice cream, there's still such an educational element. We really want to empower our students to feel confident about serving customers, learning management skills, learning customer service, just those skills that you can take into any role. And I think what we do here is really cool and really important. It's taking products that are created here on campus. It's a farm that's a working farm. I've always loved hands-on experiences in teaching. So I think that that's really kind of continued to inspire my interest in teaching. I laugh because I am so passionate about ice cream and cheese and dairy. I never really thought that this would be where my career path led, but it's been really fun to share that with people. And I think with teaching, it kind of helps me teach what I am passionate about and, get people excited about those things too. I think that there's so much for us to learn about where our food comes from, how it's made, the work that goes into it. And I think being able to give people a small glimpse of that and understanding of that, it makes them more compassionate in what they do every day. I think helping people understand that is something that I found to be really enjoyable.
My name is Zachary Gurok. I am an academic advisor in the School of Nursing, as well as an adjunct faculty for the departments of Theater and Dance and Women and Gender Studies. So my full-time position is as an academic advisor for the School of Nursing, which seems really outside of what I work on from my teaching and research. But we have a unique program at UD called Healthcare Theater, which is a training program for students who, well, it used to be mostly theater students. Now it's actually more students who are interested in healthcare, but they go through a very specialized theatrical training so that they can serve as patients, family members, loved ones in simulations for students who are trained to go into healthcare. What motivated me to become faculty is I love teaching. I love the research I do and the subjects I teach. Adjuncting is a nice way to kind of keep that teaching going, building your professional profile so that when something does become available, things like that, I have all of that experience built up. Though I love all of my work, so it is nice to have adjuncting as sort of a side thing while I'm working on other projects, though I've been an adjunct faculty for 14 years, so it can be enormously important to support knowledge in one space with things we're not used to reading. But then it goes backwards. I have my theater students read political theory. I have my feminist theory students read plays. Bridging all of that across is certainly the case. And having an opportunity to advise students who are outside of things that I research and study is really nice because, number one, I can always sort of pull them into the arts. But it's a great way to keep those muscles flexed and work with students. And I think that's sort of been the hallmark of my career is how do we take the arts and connect them to politics? How do we take the arts and connect them to education? How do we take the arts and connect them to nursing? I've made UD kind of my home. I'm from New York originally, but I came from for undergraduate. I've been here undergraduate, graduate, working, adjuncting, and I live in Delaware. I have no plans on leaving. So
my name is Catherine Dan Rober, and I'm Director of Academic Affairs here at Winterthur, and also the Brock W. Jobe Associate Professor of Decorative Arts and Material Culture. And I have been in this role for about 6 years now, but I was teaching in the Winterthur program for American Material Culture even before I was in this position. So teaching students about the fine art collections and other things here, and teaching UD students who are in other programs as well. I actually graduated from the Winterthur program here, and it's amazing to be able to come back to a place that I spent time developing ways of thinking and understanding and learning from so many wonderful people on campus, as well as here at Winterthur Museum, Garden, and Library. And to be able to share those resources now, both at the university and here with students, undergrads and graduate students, is just fantastic. And it's an unending treasure trove and so many people and the things that we get to work with and teach with. Program that we have is a graduate program, and it has 16 people in it at any one point in time. In the culture program, we also have a conservation program. And those students here are, I think of them as almost junior staff members. And so as they're taking classes, they're also in a working institution, and they get to work on projects like interpreting spaces, they guide, they create programming for school children. And so we get to work alongside students as well as teach them in the classroom. So when I got my PhD, I always thought it would be ideal to have a position where I could both be in a working institution and be teaching. I used to say that there was a person who held a role that was similar to mine when I was in the program here, and I used to tell people that that was my dream job. And so, as I like to tell people, I'm living the dream. Yeah.
I'm Nazem. I really don't pronounce my last name very often, but it's Karaca. Um, I teach computer science and ethics here at University of Delaware. I'm an instructor. And 6 years ago, I was first asked to teach a single class. So I would teach more or less one class a semester while I was doing my data engineering role here at UD. And then about 3 years ago, I was asked if I was interested in coming on full time. There's a lot of good things about being a professor here. I work both in my teaching role and in my non-teaching kind of jobs here at UD with a lot of very talented students. And it's impressive and inspiring to work with such driven, insightful people. I cannot emphasize that enough. Like, last summer, we did a big restructuring of one of our bigger courses, and the research team that I led was composed in about half of it was students. And they really had a giant impact on how we rebuilt that class. I also, work with the UD's chapter of Engineers Without Borders, but literally building wells and bridges, doing research. The students are amazing, and the reality is that I have benefited tremendously from the fact that people seem to be interested and willing to work with me. I'm lucky that I get to work with so many amazing people. There's a lot to this job that I think people find stressful and onerous in many different ways. It certainly can be and is. It is really, really nice to find a place in the universe where you feel comfortable and supported. And I hope that all of you guys manage to find the same.
My name is Jim Tilton. I'm adjunct faculty in the Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering Department. I was pretty confident that I'd be able to teach here if I came to DuPont. At that time, the DuPont location was just north of Newark, where Bank of America is now. And, I had, as an undergraduate, taken a course from someone who was from DuPont teaching a course and wanted to follow that model. I knew I would be able to do that as well. We've had remarks of, I know how to do this stuff that you taught me that no one else around seems to know that. And so I really appreciate that you brought that to us. I've really taken joy out of seeing impact that I have on the next generation of students. I've had students come up and tell me that I've changed their life because they didn't think they could be a chemical engineer until they took my course. That's what makes it worthwhile. I don't do it for the money. I don't make a living off of this. I mostly do it for what I get out of it from the students.
Todd Whitlow. I was an adjunct and I'm a visiting professor at the University of Delaware in the Werner Business and Economics School. So I teach marketing, I teach business classes, but professional sales, I believe there's a big gap that the education, the college system can help people understand how important professional sales is out in the working world. I was in the business world for over 25 years, and that went really well. But I kind of sat back and said I'd accomplished a lot of what I wanted to accomplish. I retired early, and I was like, I want to write new chapters. So I started cycling around the world on my bicycle and seeing different places. And then I've always been drawn to higher education. So when you bike in different countries or when you visit different countries, you really start to get a different perspective. And almost all the companies that we work with are global companies, or at least worldwide multinational companies. That perspective and bringing that to the classroom and to our thinking, I think is very enriching for us. So I was fortunate enough to be selected as the Learner Adjunct Business Professor of the Year last year. And that was a real honor because it's by the faculty, it's by the staff, and most important to me, it's by the students. So what it was saying to me is, hey, we're glad to have you here. You're adding some value, and I felt really great about that. It has been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. I think I've learned a lot from it, and hopefully, I am trying to give back, and hopefully, part of what I'm doing is giving back because I believe in the power of education. I think it can just transform lives.
I'm Mike Corey. I'm an adjunct professor at the University of Delaware, Com 388, TV sportscasting. I'm going to work for ESPN and NBC Sports.
I'm Mike Corey alongside Dr. John Giannini. It is a sold-out Siegel Center here tonight.
I always wanted to be like a sportscaster. I kind of knew that. Like I was very fortunate. Like way back in like ninth grade, I would pretend to like broadcast the games at like different events when I was there, like doing a little mock play-by-play. And one day my friend's just like, "Yeah, you're gonna be a sportscaster," and I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like that's what I'd like to do. And I just basically set out to do that. I went to UMass and I worked on the student radio, TV, newspaper for 4 years, and was fortunate enough to get my first job here at the University of Delaware as the play-by-play voice for Delaware football and basketball on 94.7 WDSD, the radio station. That was my first job. I do give a lot of advice, and I like telling people, and giving helpful hints and fielding all these calls and questions. Maybe it'd be cool if I had my own class and I could teach people at the college level, and so that's how it started. I really do try to like blend a lot actually real world experiences and stuff that happens in my life, and it's not just in broadcasting, but in fact, I mean, it all relates. Like that's the whole point. So I'm excited to come out each class and kind of give some thoughts and pointers on other stuff. That's not just calling games, because like I said, it all relates and I think it could help. It does make me feel good. It really does. It's like you get emotional about it, but people did it for me, and it's like to be able to pass it on and help them and hear them where it works out. It's like it's awesome.